Well, welcome to another episode of Money, Sex, and Kids. I am absolutely delighted because I have a super special friend with me today, and I think that she's going to share some really enlightening truths, and I think it will resonate with just about all of us. I know she has with me. This is my friend Tish McCall, and she is all the things. You're all the things. You're a mom. If I miss a hat that you wear, you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're a wife, you are a daughter, you are a sister, you are a loving, wonderful, supportive friend to everyone.
Thank you.
And so I'm just happy and honored that you're here to share your story.
I am excited to be here.
Okay, so what people don't know is, yes, you were all the things. And all of those things came to a halt about a little over a year ago.
Yes.
And what happened?
I was in a really dark place. It was a place that I had kind of built up to. We don't usually, wind up in a dark place overnight. And so it was a very slow progression into a really dark place where I felt alone. I was isolated. And I was drinking in my closet every day. And that's really the bottom line. I was drinking and I was scared and I didn't know how to stop. And it was just a really sad place to be.
You knew at that point that you couldn't handle coping with where you were at that point. And the alcohol wasn't helping because it was everything to you at that point.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I tried everything to try to stop on my own. I know that, really everything. Mm-hmm. I tried getting hypnotized, I tried counseling, I tried, just on my own moderating and saying, okay, you make all these rules. I'm just gonna start drinking wine, no hard liquor. I'm not gonna drink during the week, or I'm only gonna do 2 drinks tonight. Mm-hmm. And I think over such a long period of time, none of those things worked. Really, it was kind of like I got to a point where I just felt so hopeless. Mm-hmm. I hated myself. And so after a lot of days of drinking and sadness and my husband being fed up and there just being a breaking point, I just kind of fell to the floor and asked for help. And it was hard. And I actually, I left my family and I made a choice to go get help and go to a treatment center. And it was difficult. You don't wake up and think, I can't wait till when I have to go to rehab.
Yeah. You never ever thought you would be in a place of having to leave your kids.
No.
To go.
It was terrifying. And, getting dropped off to a rehab facility and saying goodbye to your family and your husband it was just heart-wrenching. And so that was the day that everything changed for me.
For 30 days you were there?
35 days.
What kept you going?
I think for me, really, my kids and wanting something different for my kids is really what got me there.
Yeah.
I think it gets a lot of people to a certain point, and it got me there. And I just really didn't want them to grow up with a mom who was numbed out and not present. And I really started to feel like that is where I was. I started to feel as if I wasn't present for my kids, and it was really sad. And my oldest daughter really started to recognize what was happening, and she was sad and she saw it, and it was surreal.
Yeah.
It was a really surreal experience where you're kind of sitting in your own life and you're at a place where you never thought you would be, and it's just like you wake up and how did I get here? And I think what kept me going is not wanting something better for myself.
Yeah.
I really didn't believe that was my purpose. I really didn't.
Did you wonder the years that led up to this point of finally saying enough's enough? I don't know how to fix this myself. Did you wonder what your purpose was most of those days?
I did. I thought, the visualization that I still have in my head is myself in my closet, literally in my closet, drinking from a bottle of vodka, and I had this vision of God staring down at me and disappointed in me, and I thought, being in that closet that way, I just really didn't feel like there was any way that he or anyone could love me. And when you fail over and over again, when you wake up at 2 a.m. with anxiety, when you've sobered up in the middle of the night and you lay there for the rest of the night thinking, why did I do this again?
Yeah.
Why can't I stop? Okay, tomorrow
is a new day.
I'm not going to do this.
Mm-hmm. And then
the next day you do it all over again. And after so much time of doing that, you really start to feel like a failure. And I had such a struggle going on inside of me. I really felt like there was such an inner conflict. It's like you're living a double life. I had this side of me that showed up every day for other people, that was at the church, that was,
that was coaching your kids'
coaching
games.
My kids hungover.
But you played it off well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say that, and that's what I was just thinking is, and that's what's so heart-wrenching about not only alcoholism, but any addiction.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little bit about that, because what you've learned is addiction is addiction, and we can be addicted to a lot of things, but you still showed up for all of these things. And as an outsider looking in, not knowing how deep the problem was, you fooled us all. You played it off well, but I think that was...
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And no wonder why you would go home at night full of anxiety, stressed to the max,
just a cycle.
Hating everything, and sitting in your closet and doing those things. Like, eventually, there's a burnout that happens, right?
Absolutely. There's a point where you just get exhausted.
I think, too, we talked about this off camera, and I think it's probably important to share because, your experiences with drinking and alcohol started at a young age. But like any, kid, we go through those times of trying things and succumbing to peer pressure. And it is how we learn. But you said that you started early, and it was very social and very just here and there. How do you get to the point where you're like, okay, now this is a problem? Because I think there's a lot of people that like social settings, they can have a drink or two and then maybe not drink again for a week or 2 or 3, whatever. And so I think people wonder, like, does it sneak up on you?
Yes, it absolutely. I started drinking at a really young age. I was a really insecure girl. It was always a social thing. I mean, if I really wanted to look back on my life and different decisions I made, did alcohol affect a lot of the bad decisions I made? Absolutely. But all growing up and all even through my adult life, it was very social, and it was like fun-tish, like tequila-tish. Like, I never really looked at it as a problem, but as life happened and as you have 3 kids and a business, and you realize that maybe all those coping skills that some people learn growing up, I didn't.
You didn't have the coping skills.
I didn't. And I really started, that alcohol started to become my coping skill. And all of a sudden, a few nights a week turned into every night a week. And then a couple of glasses of whatever turned into a shot. And all of a sudden, it is really just something that builds and builds. And then you wake up in the morning and you have to do it all over again. And then it starts to get to a point where you don't feel good until you do it. And that is really a scary place that people get to, that I got to, where I woke up and I was living in this constant state of being hungover and not feeling good. And what it starts to do to your neurotransmitters in your brain, it's like people have anxiety and they want to drink more.
To mask and help the anxiety.
But it just ends up making you have more, and it's just really a cycle that I just got sucked into, and it snuck up on me. It was like, why am I not stopping this? Oh my goodness, like, what's happening? And it just kept going.
Would you look at other people and say, like, how can they do this and I can't?
Yes.
How can she go and have a glass of wine and be at a party and be fine? How does she not go home?
Yes. And I think that you do, as someone who starts to develop an addiction and a dependence upon something, you do start to rationalize what you're doing and making excuses and getting upset, like, why me? I think that I just really started to feel like mad. Like, well, why does this happen to me? Like, why can someone else go have a couple glasses of wine, and why did I get to this point? And you kind of almost start to feel sorry for yourself, which is not good.
But you have to get to a place of feeling so sorry for yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
To then take the brave, courageous step to say, I don't know how to do this. So you left your family for over a month.
Yes.
In that time, I know we could never possibly share everything that you went through, but I would imagine you almost had to relearn or come away with a set of coping skills and tools, because in a setting like that, everything's working in your favor, right? You don't have the stresses of the outside saying, drink, Tish. You can't do this on your own.
Yeah. And I think that when I was there, first of all, I had this amazing family and husband that allowed me the opportunity to do that. There's so many people that showed up that, not everybody can go spend 35 days in this treatment facility and focus on themselves. And I really had this support system that said, you can do this, we want you to do this, and they allowed me that time. And I did. I really stripped everything down. And to say that it just happened overnight, it didn't. And when I got home, the real work started. But I was able to kind of learn some tools, a lot of amazing things about recovery. The recovery community is so awesome and supportive and great, and there's a million different ways to find your own recovery, which I've been doing. And I was kind of allowed that opportunity to get away and focus on myself and ask myself all these questions as to, like, why are you doing this? How did you get to this point? We all have things that we're doing.
Well, and that's the thing, is like, yours was drinking.
Sure, but
we all have something that we maybe get slightly obsessed with that then becomes an addiction. And you said this could be anything.
Some people shop, some people drink, some people do drugs. Maybe it's sex, maybe it's not eating, maybe it's working out. I mean, drinking was just my, what I did because of the core problem.
You couldn't control that, but you could control how much you drank.
Yeah, exactly.
And to get to the feeling to forget all of that.
And just numbing out, and we all have numbing behaviors,
And what we do to shut it off.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm sharing my story. I mean, the first year I came home, I didn't share my story. I was just really fragile. I didn't want to put myself in any situation to where I felt as if I was missing out. I didn't want to feel like I was being deprived of anything. I wanted to kind of start a new life. And it's really, I had to completely change my entire lifestyle. I mean, alcohol is a part of our culture every day.
It's in your face.
And it doesn't matter. Some people, it's not an issue. It was for me. And so for the first year, I really just I went through so many emotions. Felt sorry for myself. I felt like, why me? And why nobody wants to invite me to parties anymore. I'm not gonna I'm never gonna have fun ever again in my life. And I think the day I shared this story on Facebook, which was an out-of-body experience because it's really not in my comfort zone, but the second I did that, I really started this second part of this journey, which led me here. I mean, I prayed to God every day. I said, God, please show me why I went through this. I know that I didn't spend these 35 days away from my kids for no reason. Like, why am I going through this?
Or years and years of drinking in your closet alone.
Thinking that he didn't love me, that God couldn't love me.
Like he forgot about you almost. Like,
about me. Yeah.
I can't help you.
Yeah. And I prayed, I met with so many friends and family, and I just said, what does this mean? Why was I supposed to go through this just for myself? Or is there a bigger purpose? And he just kept showing me over and over, this isn't just for you. This is not for you.
People coming to you, right?
So many people reaching out to me, so many women. And of course, this is not just a women's issue, but my passion is for women because I know what they're feeling. I know what it feels like.
I think that's the thing is your story, regardless if it is alcohol or not, the feelings that you have shared, that you have felt at your worst place ever, I think are feelings that a lot of
Yes.
women watching right now
Yes.
are stuck in such a dark place.
Yes.
They don't have coping skills. Their mind is so messy and so negative
And
that
they feel that God is not hearing their prayers.
yeah.
Because I pleaded with him, I pleaded with God, please take this away, just take it away. And I didn't realize that this was all for, I had to go through this process to get sitting here. And I really feel like it's my purpose now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm able to have the courage to stand out. And I know not everyone can, and that's okay. I just want, even if there's one lady that decides to get help because she sees that I could do it, then that's enough for me. That really would be enough for me.
I think as women in society, we get so fearful.
Yeah.
We live in fear and we're ashamed of something we've done in our past.
Yes.
And we squash it so far down because we never want anyone to know, because we have to live this perfect social media la la land life. And what we miss in all of that is the more we open our mouths and say what really is going on, we give so much permission to everybody else to do the same. And I really think, more of us are alike than we are different. Especially women,
yes,
mothers,
100%.
and we all have these same insecurities, these same fears, but we deal with them differently.
And I think all these secrets that we keep inside, it's the more and more we keep it to ourselves, the more we're in these chains.
Yeah.
And I felt so much shame. I felt like when you said shame, that just hit me, because I would go to church and I would be talking to people and I didn't feel real. I felt like, oh, if they only knew. Mm-hmm. So it just made me feel as if I didn't even have the permission to talk. It's like,
because
just be quiet. You can't talk like that, because if they only knew what you were doing the second you got home, they would discount you. And I just felt discounted. I felt like
you didn't matter. Now that it's out there and people know, doesn't it feel like,
yes.
Do you feel free?
I do. I feel free. And a gentleman asked me the other day at our Bible study if I truly felt free and if I truly felt like forgiven. And I'm still working on that. I really am, because I still think of a lot of the things that I did. And I am working on that. But every single time I share, and when you asked me to come share my story here, I still fight with those things of,
who wants to hear my story?
Who wants to hear your story? Big deal, you stop drinking. People do it every day. Not that big of a deal. And so I do still fight those lies. And all those lies are what got me into that closet in the first place. And so every time I'm like, you go show up for Andrea and you tell your story. And then
because you're showing up for so many more. You're not showing up for me. You're showing up for people that are going to see this. And you just mentioned something, how you have to work hard every day. I think that a lot of times, whatever we work ourselves out of, whatever problem we've dealt with, right? Any sort of addiction, but any sort of problem, because I think this can really, the underlying message resonates with more people than just people maybe dealing with addiction, is the working hard consistently.
Yes.
And like you don't expect tomorrow, if you don't continue to work on what you started working on 19 months ago, that everything would just be fine. I mean, it's like a diet. It's like, well, yeah, you stick with something, and then all of a sudden, like, you start eating cake and cookies again, and you're going to go back to your old ways.
Yes.
So people that are watching, like, it's a never-ending process.
Yes.
Right? Like, there's really no finish line.
There's no finish line, and there are days that I wake up and I just don't feel like doing it. I just don't feel like fighting the fight. I think that one of the biggest things that someone who tends to have an addiction or numb out or whatever their choice is isolation. Mm-hmm. And there's so many days when it could be so much easier just to kind of crawl into bed and to isolate. And I think one of the biggest things that I have to do every day to work on this and to continue this is to walk out of the house and to conquer the day and to say, today I'm not going to get inside my head. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do something kind for someone else. I'm going to show up and I'm going to be present with my kids. And so I think a lot of us, that really, I never want to disrespect anybody who's in recovery. There are so many ways to go about an addiction or to conquer whatever it is you're going through. For me, it's as simple as every single day deciding to live for my kids, for my husband, to not be like another statistic, to pray and to just try to make this day the best day I can. And some days it's easier than others.
But every day you make the choice to do it. And I think that that's a great takeaway for everyone, watching, is if you're stuck in a messy place right now, and maybe it's not this per se, but I would imagine getting up and even sometimes writing it down. Like, this is what I'm, so you can see your purpose for the day.
Yes.
And I think a lot of our personalities are alike. Like, if we don't do anything, we feel so unaccomplished and we still feel so unworthy, and we feel like we just wasted a day of life doing nothing. And I would imagine in recovery, that's the worst thing.
It's the worst thing. Yeah. You have to get up and, you just take it one day at a time, but you also, for me, writing is huge, to journal and to write down my thoughts and to process things and to feel things. And what really has helped me through these past 19 months is to just pray and ask God for my purpose. And I, like you had mentioned before, I really never knew, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't. I didn't really like who I was. And so I just felt like a fraud. I did. I felt like
put on this front.
I put on this front. But I realized that was all a lie. This has always been who I am. I was making some choices that were kind of feeding into my lies. And so now I'm just trying to find purpose in what I have gone through and give it back so that maybe I can help someone else. But it helps me. It helps me so much because
it ministers to you, but you have no idea how much it ministers to other people just by you showing up and saying what you're saying.
Yeah,
it really does. So I think there's probably somebody watching right now.
Thank you.
So if they're stuck, they need to know they're not alone, right?
Yes.
Like, even if they have a family, and I think there are some people that don't have the family support that you have, but they have to realize, they have to tell themselves and that they
I would say that
they are worthy of stepping up and finding the next step to get out of this.
You just said it. You are worthy. And I think that if there's anything that I would say to anyone, and you are worthy and you are worth it. I didn't think that I was. And nobody deserves to be alone in their closet drinking. Nobody deserves that. Nobody.
No matter what you did in life.
No matter what you did.
No matter what awful thing you think you did, right?
You don't deserve that life. And I woke up thinking, you have amazing kids, you have an amazing husband, you have a business. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? And and so I just would want to say that nobody deserves that. Everybody has a purpose to be on this earth. Every single person. So.
Okay. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
19 months.
Yes.
Consistently going strong.
Thank you.
And what is so great is she's sharing this journey now with everybody. And you're putting it out there. And I'll make sure that all of you can find her out there in social media, because if you're going to follow people, follow the right ones that feed you good things, that nourish your soul and help you, just work towards, a better life. And even if you're not in recovery and you don't have this as an issue right now, what you put out there is all good and it resonates with everyone.
Thank you.
So if you like this episode, and maybe you have followed the same journey as Tish, we would love to hear a comment from you or what your path has looked like. You can drop that below. Share this episode with somebody that you think might really need to hear her words and her message. And subscribe so you don't miss anything. We're here every week, and we're just trying to share good messages in hopes of all of us becoming better in so many aspects of our life, because life's hard when you do it alone.
It is.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.